Get ready to be jolted out of the ordinary and into a world where conversations are charged with intensity and facts. The Lightning Strike Talk Radio with your host, Mohammed Faheem, broadcasting live from the heart of the city on Chicago's Progressive Talk Radio, WCPT 820 AM. Welcome to a radio show that charges through the airwaves with an electricity like no other. Here's your host, Mohammed Faheem.
Okay. Good morning, folks, and welcome to the Lightning Strike. I hope you guys can hear us okay, because when we're looking at the studio link over here that we are listening to the studio, we sound like a broken reed over here, okay? Yeah. So just want to make sure that you guys are able to hear us okay.
You guys sound good over here. So I don't,
okay.
Maybe it's on your end.
Okay.
Oh, it's on your end, dude.
Well, something is happening, and I think they're trying to keep us off the air now. Okay, because these Republicans.
It's conspiracy.
It's a conspiracy theory, man. Okay, so they are.
We've hit the big time. We've hit the big time now.
They're doing something. They're doing something to not let us get out our message of what Murray likes to call it as resistance radio. Okay.
Yes.
So for now, let's just bear with us. And if you think that we're sounding good, do feel free to call in at 773-763-9278. For some odd reason, Chris is unable to join us on video today, and so is Ms. Some things are happening on the air, okay? But more importantly, folks, some things are happening in our country that we need to be aware of, okay? I actually wanted to get into my monologue, but for some odd reason, my computer says no monologue today. I don't know what I should do about it. Okay.
What the heck is going on around here?
Okay. So there are certain things that are happening in our country, folks, that we need to be aware of, and that's where I wanted to go with the monologue, especially considering the fact that the midterms are coming up, and the country literally is going nuts trying to figure out whose messaging is correct. The Zios have spent millions of dollars in the primaries so far, and Chris is entering again. Let's see if this time Chris can see us. And especially in Michigan, there has been so much negativity being spread now. And if you look at the messaging that is coming out, Mike Rogers, I believe, has said that he does not want any AIPAC endorsements. Okay. How does that sound to you, Mike?
That sounds wonderful. I love that. I love that.
But I think there's more to it than him saying that openly, because what AIPAC is doing, it is rerouting the funds through other organizations that are not, ostensibly, when you look at it and say, oh no, there's no AIPAC coming into this race, but they're not going to let it go that easy, okay? No. And that is what I wanted to focus on today, is the dark money. And especially our Supreme Court came out recently, Mike, if you remember, and said there's no limit to the contributions from dark money, right?
Right, correct.
So we need to be very careful of how our country is being governed, folks. And meanwhile, while all this is happening, our attention has been diverted so far from the Epstein files.
What files?
What files, right? Okay. So in the second hour, we'll be joined by Congresswoman Marie Newman, and we will talk about the Epstein files when Congresswoman joins us in the second hour. And so also Maria Mozaffar will be joining to break the echo chamber. This is our country, folks. Let us take it back. Don't just listen to the memes on Facebook that you see coming out, right? But Mike Rogers said this, and Dr. Al-Sayed said this. There's a lot of people that are spending money behind the scenes to control the narrative. That is what we have to be, that's what we have to be careful about, okay? And one thing that I was really hoping to talk about today was also what is happening in the Middle East over here, right? It's no longer the Middle East. Remember that, folks. This is our country. We got to take it back. So America right now is at a crossroads. War abroad, debt at home, and a Democratic Party in revolt. That is it. Good morning. This
Default.
is Mohammed Faheem.
Capital default.
I am telling you. So this is the lightning strike, folks, where we go beyond the headlines and ask the questions that politicians would rather you didn't ask. This week, America finds itself confronting a remarkable contradiction. We are spending enormous amounts of money fighting wars abroad, while our national debt has crossed $40 trillion. That is trillion with a T, okay? 40 times more money than what Elon Musk has.
Wow.
We are talking about peace, Mike, while threatening more economic warfare. We are defending democracy around the world while fighting bitter battles over democracy here at home. And perhaps more importantly, folks, voters within the Democratic Party are sending a message to our own leadership. They want change. Let's start with Iran. The United States and Iran remain locked in a dangerous confrontation. A ceasefire has expired. We are running out of ammunition now, okay? Our munition piles.
No missiles left.
No missiles left. Tensions remain high, and Washington is threatening what President Trump describes as an unprecedented economic campaign now against Iran. Iran, meanwhile, says diplomacy remains the best way out of the crisis. So here is the question. What exactly is going on? Where exactly is this thing going, right? Because military conflict has a way of beginning with confident predictions and ending with consequences nobody anticipated. Remember the bomb that we dropped on Japan, right? And those consequences don't remain in the Middle East. That is something that I wanted to focus on today. They come home, they show up at the gas pump, they show up in grocery stores, they show up in our federal budget. So they show up the price of everything that moves through the global economy. And while we are fighting abroad, America's national debt has crossed a staggering milestone, folks. $40 trillion, Chris. Think about that number, $40 trillion.
Big number.
Unreal.
That is not a political talking point, okay? I don't want this to sound political. That is the bill that ultimately belongs to the American people. And now we are seeing renewed anxiety in the bond market with long-term treasury yields rising as investors worry about debts, inflation, oil prices, and government spending. So I have a simple question for Washington and for all of you listeners out there. What are we doing to have an honest conversation about the cost of perpetual war? We cannot have unlimited military commitments, unlimited tax cuts, unlimited spending, unlimited borrowing, and then pretend that somebody else is going to pay the bill. Folks, right now in our backyard in Gary, Indiana, they've been without power for almost 10 days now.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, what is happening, man? Where is the infrastructure, right? Eventually, somebody is going to pay for all of this, folks, and that somebody is the American taxpayer, you and I. That brings us to Gaza now. Let's not forget about Gaza. The world continues to watch the devastating humanitarian consequences of the conflict, while questions about accountability continue to grow. We got our Secretary of War, so-called, okay, Mr. Keg's Breath. What is his name again, Mike?
Yeah, Keggy Breath.
Keggy Breath, right? And this is not simply a debate about Israel and Palestine. It is a debate about whether international law means what we say it means. It is a debate about whether accountability applies equally to powerful countries and vulnerable people. It is a debate about whether America is going to be viewed as an honest broker or as a country willing to excuse violations when they're committed by an ally. We talk about human rights, right? Human rights, human rights. And Saudi Arabia, where the Prince of Saudi Arabia massacred a journalist, Adnan Khashoggi. Anybody remember that, guys? Remember that name?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We are committed to Saudi Arabia to, come on. We cannot tell the world that rules matter and then apply those rules selectively. Rules either matter or they don't. And that brings us to Ukraine now. I mean, it's a crazy world we are living in, folks. Russia's war against Ukraine continues while the Trump administration faces the enormous challenge of finding a path towards peace. Peace is unquestionably desirable, okay? But peace is not simply the absence of fighting. A durable peace has to answer some very difficult questions. What happens to Ukraine's sovereignty? What happens to the territory occupied by Russia? What security guarantees that Ukraine receive? And what happens when one side believes that military aggression has produced political rewards? These are not easy questions. But America needs a foreign policy that is based on strategy rather than slogans. Now let's come home and finish off on that, okay? Because perhaps the most interesting political story of the week isn't coming from Washington. It is coming from Democratic voters. Progressives are winning, folks, across the board. And they're not winning only in the safest Democratic districts in America, guys. Look at Michigan. Abdul al-Sayed defeated the establishment-backed candidate, Haley Stevens, in the Senate primary. He overcome enormous financial disadvantage and the support of much of the Democratic establishment. And now he faces Republican Mike Rogers in one of the country's most important Senate races. The significance of al-Sayed's victory goes beyond one candidate. Michigan is a battleground state, okay? And Democratic voters, they essentially said, we don't want politics as usual. We want something different. We want economic populism. We want healthcare. And like al-Sayed says, Mike, all the time, it's money out of politics, money in your pocket, and Medicare, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we want healthcare. We want working people to have a greater voice, and we want a foreign policy that challenges America's endless military commitments. That should make Democratic leaders pay attention, because this is not simply about whether the party should move left or right. It's about whether the party understands what voters are angry about. Don't take the midterms for granted, guys. All these party leaders sitting up there with their finger in the air saying which way the wind is blowing. People are worried about housing. They are worried about healthcare. They're worried about wages. Heck, in Gary, Indiana, they are worried about the lights coming back.
Just turn the lights on, please.
Yeah. They're worried about inflation. They're worried about their children's future. And they're increasingly skeptical of politicians who tell them that everything is fine. Yeah, it is. It isn't fine. And voters know it. That's why the progressive victories this year matter. They represent something bigger than ideology. They represent frustration with the political system that many Americans believe is working better for donors than for ordinary citizens. It is working better. Hey, guys, you know that in Israel, they got free medical care. They got free education. Okay. And guess where the free part is coming from? We are subsidizing them every year.
Yes.
Billions of dollars going over there while people here suffer. And by the way, if you want to join the conversation, it's about 8:21 now. The number to call in is 773-763-9278. And that is What's on Your Mind. It's sponsored by Ray Hanania, our good friend. And you can go check out what Ray is doing on hanania.com, HANANIA.com. Okay. Let's come back to my rant, okay? And if you guys want to
let me go back to your original question, if I may.
Please go ahead.
Which was, don't believe people when they say they're not taking any APAC money and all that, right?
Yeah.
Because that's a, Sean Caston did that, he actually made a big play about taking a $50,000 check from APAC and saying, I'm going to give it back to APAC. I don't need no APAC money, right? Meantime, poor little Marine Newman got slaughtered by APAC doing negative campaigns on her in the last 2 or 3 weeks of the campaign. And he tries to say he doesn't know anything about it, right?
Yep. And that's the whole issue, folks. The leopard does not change its spots. It cannot change its spots, even if it wants to, because they are so invested in helping a foreign country. And the argument that comes in, guys, is, oh, it's the only democracy in the Middle East. We need to help them. Yep, the only democracy in the Middle East that is actively carrying out a genocide, okay, and trying to spread its territory all around and then playing the victim card. But I want to come back to Washington, okay? There's a fight over presidential power now. If you go back and listen to the news, the Supreme Court has allowed construction of President Trump's controversial White House ballroom project, right? Allowed it to continue while legal questions surrounding the project remain unresolved. Our Chief Justice, what's his name again, guys? Who's the Chief Justice?
I don't know, escapes me.
John Roberts, man.
Donald Trump.
Yeah. So, but here again, the ballroom isn't the biggest issue. Okay, Trump went around doing a press conference and, oh, we are spending so many millions of dollars, 700 million. What the heck? Where is that money coming from? And why are the lights still out in Gary, Indiana?
That's a good one.
I'm telling you, Mike, the bigger issue is power, guys. How much power should a president have? And can he take some of that power and turn the lights on in the rest of the country?
Well, Dick Cheney started that with the unitary president. The unitary president, they would love to have all power over Congress, over the Supreme Court, and we pretty much are there right now.
Yeah, what happens, Mike, when the executive branch believes it can act first and then let the courts sort it out later? That is what is happening, right? By the way, we need to...
They're moving so fast, Mohammed. He's moving like at blitzkrieg speed. So, he's got the courts overwhelmed. He's got the federal courts overwhelmed. They can't keep up with him.
Yeah, see, the question that remains is, because no matter which president is there, presidents come and go, right? The powers we give one president will eventually be inherited by another one. And if you believe in limited government, you should care about executive power, regardless of which party occupies the White House. And then, again, there's the most dangerous domestic political development of all, the continuing effort to undermine confidence in elections. I mean, look at this. God, I don't want to use those strong words on radio over here. But look at our president, okay, who's against mailing, ballots and all of that. And then he mails in his ballot for Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, we are already seeing these renewed claims now about voter fraud and questions about the integrity of American elections as the midterms approach. But let me be very clear. Election security matters, okay? Fraud should be investigated when credible evidence exists. But there is an enormous difference between protecting elections and convincing millions of Americans that elections cannot be trusted. Democracy requires disagreement, okay? Let's not forget it. Democracy requires losing. You cannot win all the time. Then you would be North Korea or the Soviet or Russia, right? And democracy requires accepting legitimate election results even when they don't, when your candidate loses. If we destroy that basic principle, we don't have a democracy. We have permanent political warfare. So what does all of this leave us? America is at a crossroads, okay? We are fighting wars abroad. We are accumulating debt at home. We are arguing about presidential power. We are fighting over the future of democracy. And inside the Democratic Party, voters are challenging an establishment that they believe has become too cautious, too dependent on big money, and too disconnected from ordinary Americans.
It's not cautious, Mohammed. It's comatose.
I know.
They're-
The answer is simply to
the
move left.
Democrat part, they're comatose, strongly worded letters.
Yep.
That's all we get from them. Nothing.
So it's coming up on 8:27. What we'll do is we'll take a quick break and play some messages from some people that have really helped us over here at the Lightning Strike when we did our fundraiser. And we did a couple of things later on, and they came out and they backed us. So all I want to do, folks, is to say thank you to these people, especially at the Slaw Burger. And then we had, what's their name? We had Riz Ali supporting us. So I want to just get some messages out in the next 3 minutes, and then we'll continue the conversation over here. If you want to join the conversation, again, the number to call is 773-763-9278. And here is a message. And this is coming from Riz Ali of Riz Injury Law.
Injured in an accident? Ticketed for DUI or traffic violations? You need Riz Injury Law on your side. Attorney Riz Ali fights for you, specializing in auto accidents, medical malpractice, slip and falls, traffic tickets, DUI and DWI. Call 312-546-5109 now. That's 312-546-5109. One more time, 312-546-5109. Your story matters, and Riz Injury Law will fight to make sure you get justice. Visit rizinjurylaw.com or stop by 35 East Wacker Drive, Suite 650 in Chicago, Illinois, 60601. That's Riz Injury Law. Justice, compensation, results. Call 312-546-5109.
That was nice.
Yep.
That sound? That's a smash burger hitting the grill at Slaw Burger. Handcrafted patties topped with our signature house-made slaw, made fresh every single order, no shortcuts. Craving something bold? Try the Slawsome, mango habanero, or garlic parmesan wings. Halal options available. Dine in, grab takeout, or order delivery. Don't forget to join Slaw Burger Rewards, because free food should be part of the deal. Find us in Palatine, Schaumburg, and Plainfield. Slaw Burger. Bold flavor lives here.
Order online at theslawburger.com.
And we will continue with one more message from our sponsors who helped us out at the
Craving
fundraiser.
something real? Taste of Jerusalem brings authentic Middle Eastern cuisine to Plainfield. Sink your teeth into vertical rotisserie chicken and beef shawarma, tender lamb kebab, or our signature combination plate: 3 skewers of beef, chicken, and kafta. Every entree comes with hummus, baba ganoush, or fresh Jerusalem salad on the side. Vegetarian or veggie plate as you covered: falafel, tabbouleh, and stuffed grape leaves. Taste of Jerusalem, 16310 South Lincoln Highway, Unit 108, Plainfield, Illinois.
Okay, folks, back to the Lightning Strike. You're tuned in on WCPT 820 AM. I'm your host, Mohammed Faheem. Joining me this morning, Ms. Hernandez and Melinda Patino. I need to rename Mike over here and Chris Hilbert. Chris, can you see us now?
No, I don't know what's going on. Can't see anything. I just have a big gray square.
Okay.
I miss seeing y'all's faces.
Terrible.
Hey, but
We
you can
miss
hear
you.
our voice,
Miss you
right?
seeing
So
us.
the big gray square is actually Mike's head that you're seeing.
That's so funny.
Okay. So, folks, let's come back to the rant that I started out with. Okay. Chris, I need your input, especially now that you can't see us and you can hear us. You are just a regular listener now. Okay.
I am just a regular listener, yes.
What say you?
Oh, you're never that.
What do I say about
Well,
Anything?
the Democratic Party leadership is really not getting the message, Chris.
Oh, yeah. Well,
You
they
know,
have been clueless about what's really going on in America for 40 years now, as soon as they decided to take corporate campaign cash. So they listened to their corporate masters and not the people they really need to vote for them to get into office. Without the average uh, worker voting for the Dems, they would not be in office. So
look,
they really need to wake up to the reality that people are hurting. The Dems have turned towards the whole Republican mantra of we know what's best for you, and we can take corporate money and tell you that everything is okay and you will believe us. Well, that works for a while, but as we're finding out, people are really, really hurting with the food prices gone up like what, 30% since 2019? I mean, and the wages, salaries have only increased like 12%. That's a huge discrepancy there. And
so
now
Mike,
there's
Mike just texted me that callers are unable. They're getting a message that that they are not able to call in or something. Dylan, what's happening?
Yes. I just had somebody call in, said they were going to call in from the event I went to yesterday up in Grays Lake, and they called in. He called in and said the automated voice said, "Sorry, we're not taking calls at this time," and hung up.
Huh.
What's that? What is that?
So, Dylan, if you could please take a look at that and see what's happening, because we were expecting a lot of calls today, and it is disrespectful to our listeners. Mike, you want to talk about the event that you went to?
Oh yeah, thank you. It was a great event. I got invited up to a rally that the Illinois Green Party was hosting and sponsoring up in Grays Lake, beautiful little town. And it was a anti-data center rally, and they had quite a good turnout, about 40 people or so, maybe, and everybody had their signs, and they had some guest speakers in, and it was very, very nice, very jubilant affair. Everybody was up and talking to each other, made a lot of contacts up there, and they're doing a great job fighting. I'd like to give a shout out to some of the people that were there. They're doing extraordinary work. They actually have a lawsuit going on. Um, some of the guests are one of them, Aaron Amsler, member of the Lake County Data Center Opposition Coalition. That's the group that's suing right now. Ivy Woods, who is a member of the Northern Illinois Progressives and former event coordinator for Morgan's campaign. And then Griselda Romero, the Green Party's governor candidate, showed up. I've met her for the first time. Very nice young lady.
Mm-hmm.
And she spoke to the crowd. And Roxy R., one of the founders of the Protect Grays Lake. So there was quite a few leaders up there that are taking the bull by the horns and putting it to the Grays Lake City Council. They go to council meetings. They're thinking about starting up a state PAC up there to further their project against them. So it was very encouraging. They're all lit up there. They're ready to go and ready to take over their city. We want to take back our country. They want to take back their city.
Well,
So
and
very nice.
here locally, Mike, in where I am, there's going to be a meeting tomorrow evening at the American Legion to talk about this very issue. Our town over here has already said that we are not going to have any data centers. Okay. But locally in Will County, some data centers are coming up. My question is this again, apart from just the data centers, guys, we say we are $40 trillion in debt, right? Who is buying our debt? Who is actually giving us the money or lending us the money at exorbitant interest rates? Who are the people behind this whole thing? That is what I want to dig into. Somebody is buying our treasuries, right? Somebody is buying what we don't have any money, that we cannot print money anymore. So someone is buying this. It could be the Rockefellers, it could be, the Saudis, the Chinese, the Russians. We don't know. So who are we paying the interest to? The interest itself is like over $1 trillion or something a year. It's like crazy.
Well, Mohammed, shouldn't Congress know? I mean, aren't they the ones who fund our government?
They don't. And that's
I know they don't. Why don't they know that?
That's a great
everybody
question. I
knows.
think when Murray joins us at about 9:50, let's ask Murray, as a former congresswoman, what does Congress really know about who is buying our debt? I mean, if tomorrow they call in their markers, where are we going to be? Are the lights still going to be on in America?
We're going to be like Indiana.
Yep. Especially Gary, Indiana. I was looking at why it is happening over there, Mike. At one point, when the steel industry was there in Indiana, Gary had like a population of 200,000 people. And now Gary's current population is 69,000.
Oh, okay.
So you can imagine that the tax revenues are no longer there to keep up the basic infrastructure. But if you're looking at the amount of money that the states are actually sending to the federal government and how much we are getting back, there should be some accountability, right? Instead of spending $2 billion plus a day on an unending war, that money could have been spent here locally.
Right.
Our infrastructure is crumbling, folks. Our infrastructure is really crumbling. Meanwhile, what we are doing is there's been a lot of talk about these flock cameras. Have you guys heard about that in Texas, Chris?
Oh, yeah. I have not really been out much, so I haven't really looked for any, but there have been some talk about it, and Texans often seem to be totally okay with whatever Trump and his ilk are doing, or in this case, Governor Abbott. They're all in favor of the data centers for the most part, but there are pockets of fighting back to such an extent that Greg Abbott did have to put a moratorium on the data centers, but the flock cameras haven't been quite as what's the word I'm looking for? The people haven't been quite as riled up about the flock cameras as they have been about the data centers.
Well, they are getting riled up over here locally about the flock cameras. In fact, just the other day, a guy went out and he broke like 4 or 5 of those flock cameras, just busted them.
I love it. I love it.
The argument is that, hey, we all have cameras. We all have cameras in our phones, in our cars, everywhere. There are cameras everywhere. So what does it matter if the flock cameras are there? Well, it matters, folks, because these flock cameras are actually tracking your activities, where you're going, who you're meeting, everything. And who handles that data is where the question comes in.
Yes, that is the question, isn't it? Who's looking at all this precious data that's coming into somebody's little room? And is it Elon Musk and his buddies? Zuckerberg, I'm sure he's in the room, disseminating all this private information that they really have no business having. The right we have some kind of a semblance of a right of privacy in this country, don't we? Still a little bit.
I don't know. I don't know. Again, this has happened recently during this administration. Let's not forget about that. Okay, this did not happen during the Democratic presidency. This has happened since Trump came to power.
All right, this is new.
Yeah, for some odd reason, he seems to be selling every piece of the country to his buddies.
All right.
It's the same system that ICE uses. Again, we've seen multiple police officers, ICE agents, not only track victims that don't have any any crime, but also track victims, figuring out families, tracking girlfriends down. Again, hunting folks down, hunting Americans with the surveillance state.
Oh, right. It's ridiculous.
So,
hey, getting back, hold on. How's Dylan doing with our switchboard operators? Are we getting any phone calls in or what?
I haven't seen any message back from Dylan. He's probably working on that. If you remember when we started off, the station was sounding like a broken reed. So that could be something that happened over there. So my apologies to folks who want to call in. Mike, if you want to share the Zoom link with anybody that would like to join, feel free to do that.
Okay. I'll do that. Thank you.
That way we can have some people actually join the conversation over here.
I appreciate that. Well, the first one will be to Alexandria, who was the organizer of the event yesterday. Okay.
Okay, please go ahead and do that. Okay.
Thank you.
So here's the question, folks. What are we doing individually? We should not wait for the government to come and do things. Okay. The government obviously has been sold to the highest bidder across the board. Whether the administration is Democratic or whether it's the Republican, everybody is for sale now. And you come in and try to make a difference over here, like what Mike was telling about what happened in Grace Lake, people coming together at the grassroots level. That's what we have to do now. We've got to take our country back. And speaking of that, we are thinking of coming up with an in-person event every month, which we are calling as We the People. Let's come together, regardless of party affiliations, okay? Whether we are Democratic, Republican, Green Party, Blue Party. They're like, Chris, do you know there are like 40 plus parties in our country?
I'm sorry, what? I didn't hear that.
There are 40 plus political parties in our country that nobody seems to know about.
Right? I think they just know about what the top 4 or 5, the Dems, the Republicans, Libertarians, the Green Party, and like the Independent. Oh, and the Working Families Party. I think that's about all I really know of. So
Yep.
40, that's a lot.
That's
surprising.
And the problem is that these are like local regional groupings.
Yeah.
Which literally have no chance of getting any national exposure unless they call in over here and talk to us on WCT.
Right? We'll give you some exposure.
If they can talk to us, Dylan.
Well, for today, something must be happening over at the phones over there, because sometimes it happens. And sometimes it is the Republicans and the Democratic Party leadership putting a spoke in our wheels and saying, these guys are talking too much.
It's a conspiracy.
It's a conspiracy. Okay.
Oh my God.
Okay. Conspiracy theories aside, folks, there is something that I wanted to talk about now, is about the visit of an Indian guy. His name is Mohan Bhagwat. Okay, kind of difficult for us to pronounce, right? Mohan Bhagwat. Now, who is Mohan Bhagwat? And why is his visit so controversial? Now, Mohan Bhagwat is the chief of the RSS in India. It's a political organization, not a political party, okay? It stands for the Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh. That is what RSS stands for. Rashtriya means national. Swayam means self, sevak means serving. So National Self-Serving Sangh is an organization. So it's not about the country. It's not about the world. It's about serving their own interests. This guy came to America in 2000 and I think 22 or something the last time. He's not banned from coming to the country, okay? Prime Minister Modi was banned from coming to the country. But this guy came in and he fomented so much hatred against everyone, okay? It's a Hindu nationalist organization. And even the Hindus are protesting against that, Chris. So there is a group called Hindus for Human Rights. I actually wanted to see if they could come on the air with us today, but it was short notice. They are protesting the visit of this guy.
Wow. And
he's coming to New York to address a group at, I think, Madison Square Garden or something like that. Big place on the 29th. And this guy is nothing but poison. That is what he is. That's all he spouts is theories against other races, even amongst the Hindus also. That's why they are protesting about this guy. And this party, this so-called Swayam Sevak Sangh, self-serving organization, these are the people who did not take part in India's independence, struggle. They did not even fly the flag of India after independence on their headquarters, Chris. They had their own flag.
Wow.
This is the party whose member was the assassin of Mahatma Gandhi. This is the Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh. And their symbol is the same as the Nazi symbol.
Ooh, that's not good.
It's not good. And they are a very paramilitary organization. They hold demonstrations. They hold parades. They hold these parades where there's a car leading the parade with big pictures of their national leaders and the Nazi leaders. And they're doing that all over India, and they're doing it here in America. I actually have video proof of that, folks, if someone wants to look at it, in Austin, Texas, and other places. And they go, they march in the streets with arms. And this is the leader of that group that is coming over to America. And it's a North America tour, so he'll be going to Canada also from here. We need to talk about these things. We need to let people know that, hey, at the end of the day, we are all human beings. We all strive for peace. And when someone comes in wanting to just foment hate, he should not be allowed to visit with any of our political leaders. They should boycott him, right?
Right.
We don't want this guy like Netanyahu goes to our Congress and addresses our, oh, come on, man, what the heck is happening in our country? And by the way, this guy is very closely allied with the Zionists in Israel.
Oh.
So you see where the circle is meeting over here? That is who Mohan Bhagavat is. Go do some research, folks. Learn about these things, because eventually we all live on this little ball over here in space, right? The borders of our countries are arbitrary borders. I mean, God did not make them. Human beings made them for their own benefits. And speaking of that, human beings made also the country called Israel after the Second World War. Okay. They just drew a line on the map and said, this is where all the Jews are going to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And speaking of that, we got Marie joining us. Good morning, Marie. How are you?
Good morning. morning. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning.
Marie. Morning.
So we have been talking a storm today, Marie. Okay. And by the way, our studio phone lines are having issues.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
So if you would like someone to join the conversation, please share the Zoom link with them.
Yep.
I'm told by Dylan that we are sounding good.
Good.
We are unable to get phone calls. In fact, callers are getting a message that we're not taking any phone calls today, and then it's hanging up.
Uh-oh.
Not good. Not good.
No,
You know, we've all had those days, right? So,
Marie, by the way, can you see us?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
Chris, you got an issue over at your end, Chris.
It's
Well-
Dylan's fault.
No, don't blame Dylan.
Not my Dylan. No.
Bad, Dylan, bad.
And Ms. also is unable to see us. His video somehow is not working. I think it's something is wrong with your video card, folks. So Marie, we had a question for you.
Sure.
We are currently, I know that you're going to address it in your segment, that we are now $40 trillion in debt, Marie.
Yep.
$40 trillion. My question was, who is buying our debt? Who actually owns our country? And who can hold us to where they can turn the lights off without us knowing it? Who buys that debt? As a congresswoman, former congresswoman now, does Congress know who buys our debt, Mary?
Well, that's the part of this is a transparency problem. So we used to say China owned us, right? Because they would buy bonds and they would buy our debt and a bunch of things, and that is still true. But now, what is glaringly apparent, if you look at some of these analysts, whether it's CNBC or choose one, Fox Business or whatever, that a lot of the oligarchs are buying our debt. So that is just as troubling as others. So at the end of the day, it's international players that we don't want buying our debt. So, bad actors in every country, but then also the governments themselves are buying debt. So for me, all of this is very, very troubling, but also leads back to, gosh, your point is so salient in these times, is that, okay, we're 40 trillion in debt. And as a reminder, the astronomical leaps in debt always happens during a Republican presidency. And not that the Democrats are saints by any means, or that they're perfect, but I'm just saying that, like, every single time in modern times since before FDR, the debt goes way higher. And these are the guys that don't like debt. It's like, well, you don't like it, but you love it. You love going into debt. So, like,
I think you have answered the question, Marie, very well. It's not just China buying our debt. There's oligarchs that are actually controlling what is happening in the country that are buying our debt. And we've got John Stanton joining us because we couldn't get him on the phone. We invited him to join us on a Zoom line over here. And also, I just saw another person pop up over here. Let me see if I can bring in Alexandria also. I think Alexandria is joining she says in the waiting room. So
okay,
if you can join us, Alexandria. But meanwhile, John, welcome to the Lightning Strike. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so we can hear you, but we can't see you.
Well, I seem to have some technical difficulties here.
Well, I think some selective people, John, are having those technical difficulties. Okay.
Oh.
Mike is not having it. Marie is not having it. I'm not having it. But Ms. and Chris, and now you guys are being targeted by the Republicans. You know that, right?
Definitely.
Oh, I imagine.
Zionists are doing it.
Okay.
Those of us.
if you don't mind introducing yourself, I actually see Alexandria also over here. Good morning, Alexandria.
Morning, y'all. How's everyone doing? Is my audio
Doing good.
okay? I got my Bluetooth headphones on.
Okay, that's fine. We can hear you. We can
great.
you. We can't hear John. So, John, you mind introducing yourself to our audience?
Yeah, my name's John Stanton. I'm from Iowa, of all places, out in the middle of the sticks. I was a factory worker for years. I was a union steward. I was deeply involved in the unions, and I'd like to write a book called "The Last of the Factory Rats" because that's kind of what I feel like. I went through the '80s, and it was just steady decline, and that's one of my pet peeves. All of our safeguards seem to be discarded.
Mhm.
And I saw a lot of degrading conditions, shall we say. At the time, I was living in Waterloo, Iowa, and in 1983, my employer had around 16,000 people, and by '88, they went down to 3,800 people simply from outsourcing.
Right.
It just devastated the entire community in the surrounding area. And it was that way for 20 years, and the whole time I thought, my gosh, where's the safeguards? Where's the protections? Uh, yeah, saw a lot of, a lot of crime rates went through the roof, as well as substance abuse. It was pretty bad. It was, I always said it was my generation's version of the Great Depression. And even though it wasn't as bad as the Great Depression, it was as bad as I wanted to see in my lifetime.
Right.
Well, John, here's the thing. When there are no jobs, there's no money, there's no money coming in. Obviously, people have to survive, right? So
Right.
crime rates will go up because how can you go and tell your children that there's nothing to eat? Sorry, I don't have a job. And then I think on a lot of this was done on purpose.
Oh, of course it was.
Okay, because our political parties, especially the Democratic Party, I'm sorry to say that. Okay, I don't want to, dump on the Democrats all the time, but the legacy Democrats wanted to have a voting bloc that is dependent on assistance from the government. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
Let's look at what happened in Gary, Indiana. Marie, Gary, Indiana has been out of power for almost 10 days now.
Yeah. It's
at one point,
ridiculous.
At one point, the population of Gary was 200,000 when the steel mills were all active and operational over there. The population of Gary is 69,000 now. Okay, but that is why we have a federal government that is getting money from taxes from the states, and they're able to spend $2 billion plus a day on an endless war in the Middle East. Why can't that money be spent locally over here for our infrastructure? I want to get Alexandria's take on that. Good morning.
Absolutely, 100% agree with you. Good morning. Yeah, it's just so frustrating seeing so many of our dollars constantly going. And I mean, I relate to so many of the stories being shared here. My family's had to skip out on meals all the time. I mean, it's doubly difficult for me being a vegan. So most of my food I try to find anyways is more expensive. And it's just doubly heartbreaking because as someone who cares a lot about international policy, this was an inevitably failed war. Like any of the quote unquote goals Trump is trying to accomplish are inevitably going to fail. This isn't some quick hop in and hop out like the Maduro operation or like Iraq. Iran is a big country and it's an ancient culture and it's very mountainous as well. So there's just so much disastrous logic, quote unquote logic going on here from the Trump administration. It's really disappointing. I'm disappointed in a lot of Democrats that they're not speaking up more clearly against it.
All right.
Well,
You know,
coming up
if I can ask one thing real quick.
Mike, we're coming up on 9 o'clock, so the station will be taking their top of the hour break for news from NBC and all that. While we are continuing the conversation here on our Facebook Live, and this will be posted on our website, on our YouTube channels, and all our social media. So please continue the conversation. Mike, go ahead. You're saying something.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, Alexandria, you're kind of a heroine of mine because you're going after my favorite Zionist in Illinois, Brad Snyder. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. You can guess what the initials are for, but I call him Mr. BS for his name. I mean, let's just go down a quick short list. He's voted to congratulate ICE. He's voted to memorialize Charlie Kirk. He's got donors that are on the Epstein files. He lets his wife trade healthcare stocks while he's on the healthcare subcommittee. I've had conversations with him personally, asking him to help with the Richland Farms rescue. For folks who don't know, that was once the second largest animal testing breeding facility in all of the United States. And they were having unlicensed veterinarians do surgeries and torture to these puppies. I looked him in the eye and was like, hey, can you help me with this? And he's like, yes, I know Mark Pocan is sending the letter to Kennedy, so I'll talk to him and get right on it. And about 2 months later, when that letter gets sent, guess whose signature is not on it? And it turns out also gets money from animal testers. That would be Brad Schneider. Also, he gets money from all the corporations that are benefiting from these giant AI data centers. So that might explain why he hasn't said anything about the fact that the second largest data center in all of Illinois is happening right in the heart of his district. And he's just nothing, no words. That's not even getting into the Israel stuff. He looked me in the eyes and said, it's not a genocide. And I don't support the humanitarian aid flotillas. Like, where's the redeeming qualities here? The bar is so low that even an unemployed college student like me living with their parents, I think would be better than that.
All right.
Well,
Yeah.
Alexandria, that sounds pretty much like what Brad has been doing all his life. Okay, while he's been in Congress. I mean, I've known Brad for over 15 years now. Okay, and that leopard does not change its spots. I'm sorry to say that.
No.
The money is his wife's mostly, right? Okay, that's that's who is the money maker. But the enabler to make that money is sitting right there in Congress, making the laws that enable his wife to make that money.
Right.
So these guys need to be challenged, folks. These guys need to be challenged, and I'm glad you're challenging. Murray wants to say something. Go ahead, Murray.
So first of all, Alexandra, thank you for running. It's always important to step up, and I think your points are very well taken. And I'm going to tip on one. Brad's not the only one, right? Is that on all of these committees that make decisions and make legislation around very important issues like crypto, AI, and all of these regulatory matters. There's something my team did the math on it. There are, I think it's 103 Republicans and 49 Democrats that take significant amount of corporate PAC money and APAC money when they're making decisions on their committee about very specific regulatory decisions. And if you'll note those three categories, so there's no regulatory around AI because they've ignored it for so long now. It's a little bit like social media. It's, the wild, wild west. Same with social media, but same with a lot of these financial service matters that are not taken up. So my point is that Brad is emblematic of 49 in the Democratic Party and over 100 in the Republican Party.
Yep.
Yep, Murray, you make a good point, Murray. They are all sold out. They're all sold out. And we were talking about the upcoming midterms, especially in Michigan. Mike Rogers has come out with a statement that I'm not going to take any APAC money. Oh yeah, sounds good, because APAC is getting its behind kicked anywhere that APAC it's become toxic.
I just put a post out this morning saying, it's deeply funny to me that when a super toxic brand is refused by another super toxic brand, you've got to have some esteem issues.
Yeah, but let's not be naive about this. Okay, APAC is going to funnel that money through some other front organizations.
Yep.
To buy our politicians. John, in your part of town where you are, you said you are in Iowa?
Yes.
Okay. What is happening at the in Iowa with the midterms? What's happening in your town?
Well, I'm in a little bitty town on the Mississippi River, and it's probably 5 blocks long.
Okay.
So Iowa's traditionally it's a Republican state, sad to say, and I don't know. It's a mixed bag, There's so many smaller issues of dealing with the economy and everything. I think it distracts people. It's so hard to try to get through to some people that are set in their ways. If you go south of me, there's Iowa City, and that's a much more, shall we say, liberal place. And I attribute that to being a big college town. But up here in the sticks, it's a whole different story. People cling to their beliefs, and it's hard to change them, and it's you have to do the work of compromise.
Okay,
Right.
so sounds good, folks. Again, my apologies to those of you who wanted to call in and join the conversation today. We are having some technical issues on the phone lines, it seems like, and that's why we invited Alexandria and John to join us on our Zoom line over here so we can hear them. It's coming up on 9:07. It's time to swing back the mic to Marie to talk about what is happening that she wants to talk about. Especially, Marie, you wanted to talk about our country and where it is headed. What is happening and how can we take things back? And the importance of being aware, right? So please, if you could guide us on that.
Yeah, just a couple of points. Welcome to my segment, Ignore at Your Risk. And as a reminder to everybody, the topics I bring up in my segment are those things that aren't getting enough attention or are sub-stories to the main story that isn't getting attention. So this morning on Ignore at Your Risk, I'm talking about protecting elections, right? That's a really big deal right now. We should all be thinking about that as residents of this great country. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how you can help. And then we're going to talk about the issue you just talked about, which is the 40 trillion in debt as a country. But we also have extreme debt, real Americans that can't make ends meet every single day.
Yeah.
That credit card debt is right around 1.26 trillion right now. So we'll talk about that.
Marie, you want to add on the expenses that we have for running this radio show?
Yes, that's it. We'll talk about that then. I'm going to put you on hold on that. I know that's your favorite topic.
Okay.
And then we're going to talk to Peter Janko is going to be joining us in a little bit. So let's talk about free and fair elections. Yay, let's do it. The good news is a group of 20 states attorneys general have been doing a great deal of work, folks, not only protecting us and batting down ridiculous lawsuits from the Trump administration. They have effectively, there's almost hundreds of them now of lawsuits that the Trump administration has brought forward to counties and states asking them for voter rolls, and all of them have been pushed back. So congratulations to our state's attorney general and that coalition of 20 Democratic state's attorneys general. So thank you for that. But we have lots of work to do. I just want to remind everybody, some super easy things to do, doesn't take any time and no money. So make sure you're registered to vote. You can go to vote.org, you can go to eac.gov, you can go to the League of Women Voters, or folks, just Google it. Say, how do I figure out how to see if I'm registered? Easy as that. The second thing you can do is make sure that you, yourself, your spouse, your loved ones, your whole family goes out to vote, and do it very early this year. So if you're doing a ballot, get your mail-in ballot as early as possible and get it back as early as possible. That's one area that is still up for grabs. Remember, they're screwing around with the U.S. Postal Service with the executive orders, and make sure you get your mail-in ballot early so that there is none of this nonsense, oh, we didn't get it in time. So get your ballot in as early if you're going to do a mail-in. If you're going to do an in-person, go to any early polling center that you possibly can and vote that way. Get out early and bring folks with you. Bring your neighbors, bring everybody, right? If you want to be a poll worker, and they need poll workers, and the more we have, the more powerful we are. So make sure you go to usvotefoundation.org to be a poll worker, or you can go to eac.gov. Very easy to do. If you want to be a general poll volunteer or anything around the elections, you can go to indivisible.org, aclu.org, or just again, Google it. Most importantly, if you see something, folks, it's just like at the airport. You see something, say something, baby. If there's something that does not feel right, tell a poll worker or hit your hotline for your election hotline. Every state has one. So be out there, be aware, and get involved. So let's turn ourselves to debt now. I'll go back to what I said on the outset of this discussion. For the people, meaning the GOP, that is so against debt, they sure do love it because they create a lot of it. It's crazy, right? The real deal here is that this administration is so feckless and so apathetic that in fact they are seeing people paying their everyday bills with credit cards now. I saw this Bank of America CEO come on and say, we're so excited. Credit card spending is way up, and they're spending on things they don't typically. So they're buying their groceries with credit. They're putting their rent on credit. Everything is going on credit. What does that really mean? When folks are using credit cards for everyday expenses, it means that they are not able to meet their obligation at the end of the month. So they're having to extend themselves with credit. So I'll go back to, we're at 1.26 trillion with a T on our credit cards, right? That is astronomical and historical, just so you know. And what this means is that it's so bad that actually CEOs are speaking up. Whether it's Jamie Dimon or name a major CEO, they're all saying, you know what, this is actually concerning, and we're worried about it now. So even the oligarchs are worried about this most recent quarterly report from the Federal Reserve. So pay attention and talk to and it doesn't matter if they're Republican, Independent, or Democrat. Let them know that this debt is you. It's a real person. These are real people not making their bills and not being able to buy. And it's not just the old adage of, gosh, I can't buy my kid soccer shoes. It is, I can't feed my child. And they are, quote unquote, in the middle class. These are middle class people, lower income people, working families, and workers that cannot buy everyday things. So stop with the extras. That's a silly statement, right? They used to say, stop buying lattes. That was the GOP line, right? They're not buying lattes. They're not buying anything. And by the way, if they want to buy a latte once in a while, go for it, right? But this consumer exhaustion trend is very significant. So what I say to everybody is that bring this up in conversation, remind people that we're all living on credit. It's not good for us as an entity, as a country, and it is not good for individual people. They can't pay for healthcare, and remind both your congressional reps, your senators, right to the White House, and let Lutlow and Besant know, hey, this is not okay, and stop being so feckless as to say, hey, everybody's using credit. It's so great. It's not great. So go ahead and refute that when people bring that up. It's a crazy statement. Before we bring Peter Janko on, he is running for the 69th district here in Illinois for state rep, and he's a big Medicare for All champion. I want to talk about a little bit about Medicare for All. Everyone thinks that, well, why is it necessary for our state reps to be such great champions of Medicare for All? They can't make that legislation, Marie. That's only the federal government. It gets implemented here, folks. So county legislators and state legislators are very, very important because they implement all of this stuff. So when they receive funding, it comes through the counties and comes through the state, and they have to be champions of it too. And they have to build laws. They will, each state, when we do, and I say that not hopefully, I believe it. I believe when we pass Medicare for All, one of the 20 versions that are available to us, I believe that there will have to be a constellation of laws in each state to uphold Medicare for All. And I think it should be required as part of the bill. So those are some important items to remember as we talk to state legislators. So it doesn't look like Peter has joined us yet, but I'll go back to our Medicare for All conversation. Look, folks, this is probably, and you've seen this, whether it's not just Robert Reich, who is a liberal translator of economics, great economist. Name an economist. In fact, very conservative organizations have said, and recently they just came out that we'd save $1 trillion a year if we all had Medicare for All. So at the end of the day, understand that 65% of this country, 65% of this country wants Medicare for All. It is the best way for all of us to go out of debt. I'll tie it back to this 40 trillion in debt that we're in as a country and the 1.26 trillion that folks have on credit. That would largely get reduced by implementing Medicare for All, because medical debt is one of the top 2 debts that is in every single household, right? Mm-hmm. My daughter's in medical debt right now. So I understand how this works, how it feels. So if you're not going to do it for moral reasons, and we should have everybody covered. We're a moral nation. We used to be. Let's do it for moral reasons. But if you can't do it for that, do it for pragmatic reasons. We'd reduce everyone's personal debt and we'd reduce the country's debt. So that's my pitch on Medicare for all.
Marie, I think maybe I just wanted to see if maybe the word Medicare for all is triggering. It's like APAC now, right? Why don't we rename it as healthcare for all?
We call it everything. I'll be honest with you. The apparatus for Medicare is what it would be based on, right? Too, because the apparatus is already in place. So it's a very pragmatic piece of legislation. And honestly, the branding of it can be universal healthcare as long as, the point, and there's 20 versions of this. Like, let's be clear, of the top 32 nations, there are 20 different models that are used and hybrid models to execute universal healthcare, where everyone in that country has healthcare coverage. And remember, health insurance is not healthcare. Healthcare is delivered by providers still. So for me, it's very interesting because those that are against universal healthcare or Medicare for all, if they're a politician, they get a lot of money from healthcare industry. It's just straight up. You can draw the line. Look, we've done the analysis 100 times. Every single one of them that takes anything over a couple $1,000s from health insurance companies is against Medicare for all. There's about 140 members of the Democratic caucus that are pro Medicare for all. And then I actually think there's one Republican. But when 65% of the nation is pro Medicare for all or universal healthcare, or however you want to brand it, it's important. But I want to make one note on what Medicare for all is that, I think that it's funny to me when people get upset about Medicare for all and that branding name, is because here it is. It's a very pragmatic apparatus that's already in place that we could lift up, absorb everything. Now, those 20 models that are out there, we could come up with a 21st. So stop saying, oh, we can't be like France, we can't be like Canada. We don't have to be. We can do it better.
Yep.
So stop with the craziness. I think Peter has had a problem, so we're probably not going to get to him today. So I'll open up the conversation back to our $40 trillion in debt and solving it with Medicare for all or universal care.
On the Medicare for all, Marie. I mean, I was doing a lot of deep research into this. It is actually going to be more money in the pocket of the medical providers also, not just better medical care. It will make more money for the doctors and the medical providers also, right? Because we are cutting out the middleman over there.
So yes and no on that. I want to be clear and honest about that and transparent. So you're right, and you're also not right. So what will happen is it will make the reimbursement to all of our providers much more predictable on a monthly basis. It'll provide predictability and guarantee that you will get paid. Right now, a lot of our providers don't have the guarantee of getting paid. So it's not necessarily that they will that their reimbursement rates will go up. That is not true. But they will have the guarantee of actually getting the money. So that's why it's really important.
They will get the money. Yeah. When I get a bill after a medical visit, I'm looking at the billing that the doctor has done, and then negotiated rate. So why can't we have that negotiated rate to begin with for all of us?
Right. Well, that's another good thing, right? Is that in fact we would have negotiated drugs. And I'm not Mark Cuban's biggest fan, but like the fact that he's negotiating drugs and providing cheaper drugs at his no-cost drugs model, great. We should be doing that nationally.
I can even go to a site like GoodRx and get a better price on medication.
My daughter does that. Yep, it is. It's much better. And it's on the spot, right? You've got your app right at the pharmacy. You can click that and you've got it right there to take care of that business, right? And that's how, if we did universal healthcare, it would all be on our phones, just like it is in any major industrial, Germany, you just go boom and it's done. Like it's over and out. And that's how I want to address lines because this is my hobby horse about lines. It's that the constant response when I talk to Republican friends is that, well, we're all going to have lines. I'm like, honey, we have the worst lines that we've ever had in this country. It's horrifying. To get into a specialist, it's easily 3 months. When we were a nonprofit healthcare system, there were no lines, by the way, in the 70s and early 80s. When we became a for-profit driven system is when we started having incredible lines. So like that that piece of the argument is silly.
Okay. And that's what is happening, folks. I'm told that our phone lines are working fine. So I don't know what's happening. But if you could please call in if you want to join the conversation. The number to call in is 773-763-9278. Let me repeat that number again, 773-763-9278. Thank you, Dylan, for reminding us about that. And so the conversation continues over here. We finally have Chris on video. Chris, can you see us? Well, we can't hear you now because you're muted. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, it's nice to see everybody. Hey.
Okay.
Stupid technology. I'll have my husband take a look at it and see if he can figure out what's going on. So
no, I think it is the Republicans, okay, and the Democratic Party leadership who don't want progressive ideas to filter out to the people because they lose their power, right? Once the progressives come in power, and then the gig is up. Because let's face it, both parties are being bought and paid for by these special interests.
Oh, totally.
Amen.
Okay, and like Marie pointed out in the beginning, $40 trillion in debt. I can't even pronounce the word trillion now. I'm tripping over the trillion.
You might as well say it's so unfathomable to Americans. Like, you might as well say basquillion, right? It's like it's such a term that no one can get their arms around because it's a historic number, right? And so for me, this is and almost we've become immune to it. Like what I find people is like, well, we're always in debt and it's always bad and it's blah blah blah. And it's like, no, this is alarming. Now we're in the land of super alarming.
And meanwhile, we continue to finance this unending war, and we continue to finance free healthcare, free education for people in Israel, while we don't have freaking power in Gary, Indiana, for 10 days, folks.
I will say one thing. I'll make a very crass comment about it. So you're right. Gary, Indiana used to be this really boom town, doing well. And it's just a shame when you go there, and I've been through there recently, is that the infrastructure is crumbling. It's very sad and it breaks my heart. And this 2-week period of no power, think about that for those people, how horrible that is.
Yep.
Now think about how horrible that is. And I'll ask the McCaskies on air. It's like, well, if they're having trouble, and these are the people that are resourceful, these folks on the ground in Indiana are resourceful, and the residents know how to deal with things because they've always have to be fighters. How would you do with having your little stadium there? Like that's going to be problematic because if the power goes down, that's going to be problematic for you, and you're not fighters like the people on the ground are. So.
Okay, I think Bill Bennett is calling in to make a point. Let's say. Welcome, Bill. Bill, good morning. Welcome to the Lightning Strike. Okay, Dylan, we're waiting for Bill to join us. Please connect him as soon as he comes in.
Should be able to hear him.
Good morning, Bill. Okay, still can't hear Bill, Dylan. Okay, so while we are waiting for Bill to
you should be
us, I don't hear him unless no, I think I can hear everyone except him.
Yep, we're making progress, really.
Okay.
The Grays Lake board is trying to silence us too.
Oh my God.
Okay.
This unfortunately has to do with something other than anybody can control. I will tell you that.
I understand. Folks, jokes aside, I mean, the whole point of the conversation today has been that we need to take our country back. Enough of this. And the party leadership should really wake up and see which way the wind is blowing.
Mm-hmm.
Progressives are winning right and left, folks, because they're coming in with progressive ideas. What happened over here in the 97th district should be a lesson for all, Marie. Harry Benton, our state rep, finally stepped down after being under investigation.
He's been speaking, boss.
Sorry, you said something, Dylan? Okay, I think Dylan was trying to say something, but he stayed till 3
Listen,
months
we're picking
before
up on
the
our end, and you
elections.
guys can't hear him, huh?
Yeah, it's just very, Dylan, it's very garbled and feedbacky.
Yep.
So maybe have him try again, like call back.
Yeah, we've been
Thank you,
having
Maria. I'll do that.
audio issues listening in to the station on the phones for some reason. So if Bill can just go ahead and text, we'll read out his text then, Dylan. Okay, I think that
Absolutely.
might
Yeah,
be
Bill, please text us and let us know.
might be a better idea. So Harry Benton waited till he was finally forced out by Chris Welch with an ultimatum: quit or be fired. And now 3 months, less than 3 months before the elections, they have Harry Benton's communications manager as a replacement on the ballot. Do you think that lady can run a campaign in 3 months? Where the Republican candidate has been going, gung-ho for the last almost a year and a half now, wanting to get this seat. Meanwhile, our party leadership invited 7 people for interviews to fill that seat. And they ended up selecting this lady who was Harry Benton's communications manager, who didn't say a word about what was happening in Harry Benton's office. Do you think she has a chance of winning? There
Maybe.
were more candidates, I know personally there were candidates who were much more eligible and had a chance of winning. I think they're going to lose the 97th because of this move by the party leadership.
That would be a shame. And look, we still would have the supermajority if we in the Illinois General Assembly. However, your point is well taken, right? Is that this is a ridiculous process. This choosing, this just happened in a couple of other District 2s where there was someone who stepped down and then there was a special committee that is gathered. And a lot of times in these counties, just so you know, the county chair decides who's on the committee. So you could stack it with whoever you want, right? It's a crazy process. There should be a more thoughtful approach to when someone does step down, someone resigns, someone passes away. We should have all of this in place. This is part of our problem in Congress too, right? We've had 5 Democratic members pass away in the last 2 years. And that caused us to lose some votes. And well, God bless and Godspeed and God rest all of those people, right? But we should have been ready. And also, there should be age limits. Like, let's just be honest. There should be cognitive requirements and there should be age limits. And term limits, of course.
Yep. By the way, let's not forget that Hakeem Jeffries made a visit to our town over here for a fundraiser. Okay. Come on, Hakeem. What's happening? Your donors are not paying you enough money now because AIPAC is kind of getting a little bit toxic.
I do want to make one point on Hakeem, and this is very, and I'll say 2 things, and this will sound very contradictory in nature, but what's particularly disappointing about Hakeem Jeffries is when I was in Congress, he was a good leader. He corralled the cats and put forth progressive legislation. Since then, he's become so beholden to AIPAC and to the corporate PACs. He came out this week, and we all know this, against Medicare for all or universal care, whatever you want to brand it. That is not acceptable, team. Not acceptable. So just know that when he's in town and wherever he is that we need to let him know. He still can turn things around. Like I will say, like, let's give this guy a chance and say, okay, if you want to turn your opinions around on the funding of a war that nobody wanted, you can turn your opinion around on healthcare for all. You can turn your opinion around on corporate PACs. Do it now. We're asking you. So we're giving you a chance, Hakeem.
Yep.
Change your mind on these things.
He can redeem himself. Speaking of redeeming, I think it's 9:30 and it's time for Maria Mozaffar to join the conversation.
Indeed.
Good morning, Maria. If you could unmute yourself. And there she comes. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
So
it's not a surprise.
The echo chamber.
Yeah, breaking the echo chamber. So it's not a surprise that Jeffrey comes to Illinois. Just everybody should know, for people listening, Illinois really supports one of the clear highest serving candidates for a long time. Actually, Illinois has been a really, really great funding pool. Marie knows this. So, I mean, I think the conversations that need to be had between the progressives and the establishment can happen so much in Illinois, very seriously, that can move the needle nationwide. And I think the issue is not, just like you stated about his position on Medicare, the issue is not just about what his position is on one issue. It's understanding what we were discussing earlier, Marie, in our last segment, is what do people think about, even after so many years of serving, when it comes to election time and when they get elected and their term starts, and that's filling the war chest. You know, I mean, that's really the reality. It's like just making sure that you have enough to be contained and to be supported. And it's not what your positions are on policy. And I think what's happening now is a fear of what is going to save me now, right? And it's going to be just a unfortunately a blind loyalty on the financial resources that supported him. I think the leadership, though, what you were saying is that he was such a great leader when you served in Congress. I think, when does that transition happen? When does that transition happen? When you just start getting worried about what you're going to hold on to. And I think it's when you know that the policy shift is changing for the country of what the necessity is, but the resources that runs your party is not willing to change. That's really what it is. And so the funders of these campaigns are exactly that. They're funders of campaigns. They're funders of individuals that will toe the line, but they are not there to implement good policy that helps everyday Americans. And so either you'll have a candidate or an elected official that is in to make sure that their campaign runs well, or they're there to make sure that their campaign speaks about the policies that the voters need. So I don't think we'd be surprised. You're going to see in the next all the way till the end of October, you'll see tons of people around the country from establishment Democrats coming to Illinois and having a lot of support, having a lot of support. So the conversations really need to be had within the state. I think that forever the progressive movement was only seen as a movement and not as individuals that are serving. So that's been the shift. And I'd like to break the echo chamber and what progressive actually means. Marie, I'll just ask you and then I'll respond as well, because you've seen yourself as a progressive candidate and then serving as a progressive caucus member in Congress. How do you define progressive? You're on mute.
I think that it is, for me, it's fairly simple, and it does mean something. It's just like saying, you know, something about your heritage, your ancestry, or your personality. It's everybody perceives it differently, right? But there is a broad spectrum, and which is a good thing in progressivism. For me, I'm an FDR Democrat, right? I believe in workers and working families and the middle class, and we should be partnering with those entities to make sure everybody's quality of life. The job of government is to make sure quality of life is good for everyone and to lift people up, right? It's as simple as that. So for me, you know, my hills to die on are real simple. It's creating universal healthcare for everybody, economic equity, which means we reform capitalism. I am not an anti-capitalist. I am a pro social impact capitalist for sure. And then, you know, thirdly is getting money out of politics. Money has no place in politics. It is the root of all evil. So for me, that's
Amen.
what progressivism means, right? And then all the things that come under that, which are attached to it, are everything from, you know, making sure that we address climate change in a transformative way, not in a baby step way. So getting rid of baby steps.
We need to throw the money changers out of the temple. We need Jesus to come back, man. Okay.
Absolutely.
And we
Well,
need someone.
Amen.
Alexandria saying something. Go ahead, Alexandria.
Amen. Amen to what you said, Mohammed. Amen.
Okay, and Mike wants to chime in on the conversation. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry, we can't hear you, Mike. I think you're muted.
Yeah, you're muted, Mike.
All right, sorry about
Mike
that.
is muted.
I have a question for Newman. I know that universal, you know, whatever you said about healthcare, it isn't the same word as Medicare for all. And that's confusing a lot of people out there when Democrats say, I believe in this and I believe in that, but it's not Medicare for all. I mean, is there a problem why you do not say Medicare for all?
Oh, no, it's not a problem for me. So universal healthcare, there is no way to achieve it without using Medicare as the apparatus. So for me, it is a part and parcel. It is not, and I'm not attached to any one brand name, is that universal care it is actually something that can be achieved through 20 different means, and they can be very different models. Medicare for all is at the base of all of them. I'm just here to tell you because it is the apparatus by which we achieve it. So I don't have an issue with the branding. I know I have heard what Mohammed's heard. So I usually refer to it as Medicare for all. But those you just have you bring up a good point though, is that some people believe universal health care is this weird hybrid thing where there's a public option and there's
Exactly.
for-profit governance, right? So you do have to ask them. In fact, when I was interviewing Dr. Abdul El Sayed in Michigan for Senate, I said, "Now, what do you mean?" And he really was very explicit that Medicare for all is at the base. So yeah, so that's my explanation.
Well, I appreciate that because it's confusing to me when I hear people like Buttigieg talking about, his version of universal
Yeah.
health care, and
That's
everybody
not-
has
that's
their
not
own
it.
version of universal health care. And so, that's why I really like Juliana Stratton. She came out early and saying, healthcare is a human right. I believe in Medicare for all, period. That's it. So make it real clear, Abdul
And I
said,
hope she does mean that in terms of what Medicare for all really is using the apparatus and taking the governance away from for-profit organizations. I
By
hope
the
she
way,
does.
Marie, by the way, Maria,
hold her to it.
Marie, what
Yeah.
happened? What happened to the concept of a plan that Trump had 6 years back? Okay,
He had a plan.
He had a concept of a healthcare plan.
The concept.
Yep, and the concept never really went anywhere. Maria, please continue. Sorry, we butted in your,
Well, I was
in your segment over here.
No,
Sorry,
it's
Maria,
fine.
sorry.
And actually it's perfect because it illustrates breaking the echo chamber of these divisions because the definitions really matter. I mean, the idea of what's holding people like Jeffries back from moving in closer to the progressive policy line is definitions and branding, unfortunately. And so, whether it be universal healthcare, Medicare for all of those things need to be really defined. And I think Marie, within Illinois, this is the biggest thing that surprises me with breaking the echo chamber on this, is individuals that support progressive ideas, which means making sure that everybody has a good standard of living. Nobody's on that. Nobody's against that. Not a single person is against that. And the only thing that is the deciding factor is one issue that we can all agree on that the establishment has to come to terms with is money out of politics. That's the only thing, actually. Everything else is basically the same. And the approach and the address is the same. What's holding you back? What is the chokehold that's holding you back from speaking to exactly what you believe in? It's got to be the money. And so you have to decide if it's the money that's got you to your position and the money that's going to keep you in the position, or is it the people that voted you in, that know you, and because you have served, will instill a trust in you to continue to serve again? Do you not have trust in that? And that's really what it comes down to. If somebody is not pushing for money out of politics, is because they don't trust that they will be elected again based on their record, period.
And that is the bottom line, Maria. Thank you so much for pointing that out. By the way, Bill, who had called in, wanted to talk about the crypto market, specifically the stable coin market, and taking the money. People invest in it and investing that money in the treasuries where they earn 4% interest on treasury bills. 4% interest, yep. The biggest scam that we have in this country is the so-called certificate of deposit, which gets you a 3 or 4% return or a treasury bill. Meanwhile, inflation is like 15% or more. Okay, so the value of your money, it should be not a certificate of deposit. It should be a certificate of depreciation, okay? Because it depreciates So if you got money in the bank, by the way, I was just reading the other day that our president now, because we have shot all our missiles. Okay, we don't have munitions left over to continue the war. So he wants to go back to the economic warfare against Iran. And Iran is threatening now to say, okay, we're going to cut all the underground cables that connect the internet. So don't be surprised, folks, if you're not on the air in a couple of weeks.
Definitely no phone lines.
The internet cables have been cut by Iran because our vice president, when I say wise, I say WISE in quotes, does not know how to conduct a war. And our Keg's Breath Secretary of War, he was so proud to rename this is the Ministry of War. Why?
Well, let me bring two things back. No, I appreciate that. I appreciate bringing in the illustration of just remember, we had spoken about this when they first met, the delegation that we sent, and then the delegation that they had. I mean, the operation and the infrastructure of the different things they can do. I mean, the fact that they can think about, let's just cut off the internet, right? I mean, it's just a chess move that they're thinking of at a different level. So we have to be prepared for that. But I did not want to end the segment without discussing the Lindsay Clancy case, because I think it's very, very important. And for those of you who don't know, I have not been on the internet for the last week and a half. And I would say that the Lindsay Clancy's case, if you don't know, is a young mother who actually strangled her three children. Because she was suffering from postpartum. And her defense is she was suffering for postpartum, she was under severe medication, and she went into psychosis. I would encourage everyone, every single person listening, to go ahead and research that case, because what it has become is an issue of maternal medical care, care for postpartum, honoring motherhood, giving support in this country. And I think that is a policy issue and a policy discussion. And this woman specifically had gone so many times to the physicians, to the psychiatrists, saying, I'm concerned about the prescriptions. I'm concerned about the fact that they're making me feel low, suicidal, and very dark thoughts for my children. Now, somebody had said, who, on the internet, and a lot of people are saying this, is that she should be tried. And she may be found guilty, and she should be found guilty, and there's no such thing as psychosis and postpartum, and there's no evidence of it. There's that narrative, right? And the reality is this, is that when you don't know, and you should accept that you don't know. You have not given birth. You don't know what you go through. And this is a really powerful opportunity for women and young mothers to be seen and to understand very clearly that this country does not honor motherhood. It does not honor the family unit for this reason. And what's interesting about this is, what will the policy outcomes be about this case? I think if we are not paying attention as policymakers to see what these gaps are showing us, and they're showing that there's such a break in the healthcare system when it comes to women and young mothers, then we're going to fail. The other response is this, is that she's already, for any mother that knows and any parent that knows, and I'd speak to the mothers, every mother knows, she's already received her death sentence. She has already received it.
Wow.
She's lost 3 children that she loved. So I think when we are watching this happen, why did she choose to go through this? Why did she publicly go through this case, right? And the reason is because she is showing the country that this is happening and that a policy change needs to happen when it comes to providing support to women and mothers. But more importantly, going back to what Marie has been stating for so long, is that where is the money going into politics? Where is the money going into healthcare, pharmaceutical industries, right? And so I can promise you that who will be creating the narrative about Lindsay Clancy's case will be the pharmaceutical lobby. We'll make sure that the physicians and the narratives are very clear that it was not the pharmaceuticals, and the way they're administered and the way they're pushed on young mothers. But my segment is over, but I think we can continue that next week. Yeah.
Thanks for
Maria,
being
I have
here.
a question. I have a legal question for Maria.
Go ahead, Maria.
So with that defense that she was a combination of she had the mental health condition, she was taking some pharmaceuticals, and it caused a psychosis. Tell me a little bit about the legal strategy and actually the legal founding for that. Like, is that a viable option where she could win her case? Like, and
Yeah.
I have no, so I only know a little bit about this case, but it does sound like she had severe postpartum,
Yeah.
and that there was some level of hallucination and other. So tell us a little bit about the legal
Yeah.
ground.
Yeah, I think so. The key thing is we have to define psychosis in the case, right? So we
Yeah.
have to define psychosis by expert witnesses that can explain that psychosis is not something that happens over time. Actually, it's not like it's evidence over time. It's a psychotic break. Psychosis happens immediately, urgently you see a reaction,
Yep.
but the buildup of it, the possibility of it, requires notices to the individuals that could be seeing that a psychosis is about to happen. And that is really the physicians. The physicians are watching and we're given notice throughout the visits. I'm concerned, I'm having dark thoughts, I'm scared, I can't go to sleep. Any physician that is prescribing medication asks, are you sleeping? Are you eating? She was not sleeping. So there's a record of evidence that shows that there were people that were put on notice and she was in their care. Right. And so she was taking advice from them. But the biggest thing is defining psychosis, which is temporary, which results in temporary insanity. And I want to just give you an example of how this is different from the case of Wadea al-Fayumi. That individual had a you could say could have a break. That was an argument that he had made, that the defense had made for him, that he had a break and he just went crazy. Right? This is what they said. They literally use these terms. And they said that he lost control. And that reality was different because there's no notice of it. Right? There is no notice of it in evidence-based hearings. So here you have individuals that are stating that she visited the doctor. You have notes from the doctor. You have meeting notes from the visits. You have journal entries. So there's a whole record that show that she was mentally not well. In addition to that, the medication kept changing, kept increasing, right? There were medications that were not working well together. And one of the key things that I thought was very interesting is that the psychiatrist that was speaking to her did not ask her or verify her medical records that showed the different medication she was already on and her history. And so her defense attorney asked this question, why didn't you look at her medical records? And she goes, well, I didn't need to because I took for face value what she was saying to me. This just shows you the power of prescriptions. And the way that you administer them has to be in a way where you see the totality of the case. So if the physician did not see the totality of the case, is there a case of negligence here? Right? And the case of negligence resulted in a psychosis. And so she's not claiming in any aspect that she did not commit the murders. She does. She does commit them. She's not defending herself in that aspect or that action. There's no question about that. The question is only, was she in the mental health state, which was an intentional murder? Did she have control over her mind? Was it intentional? And according to the evidence from what is being presented, there was tons of evidence that she was losing control of her mind. She was losing the ability to make intentional decisions. By the way, I want to end with this, is that now there are very brave women coming out and sharing their stories. But there was one woman recently who came to explain the case and from her perspective, who also experienced the same thing. And she states that she actually believed that she was in a cult. And she needed to jump off the building and take her kids with her because she believed she was in a cult. She was in heavy medication. And so when you look at the case and you see her journal entries and you see what she explains, Lindsay Clancy says that there was an overpowering voice that she did that was just taking away her own intentional action, in which the voice would consistently say, get rid of yourself, get rid of the kids, get rid of yourself, get rid of the kids. And she was having a disconnect. The reason why I go into this so specifically is because we have to understand the power of these medications, right? And the money behind them and how they're pushed. It is not an everyday thing that women have kids. It's not an everyday thing that women have postpartum. It requires extreme care and extreme nuance in a strategic way of that you're taking care of them. And that requires pulling back on medication, not pushing medication all the time and figuring out how it all works. But again, we come back to this. Which elected official will take on pharma for Lindsay Clancy?
Well, that is
Which
something
elected official will?
that is
Right?
something that we need to go do a deep dive, Maria. So we got about it's at 9:52 now, and I want to take a short break to play a message from Riz Ali, who's supporting our show, and then we will continue the conversation if you folks stay with us. Here is a message from Attorney Rizwan Ali.
Injured in an accident? Ticketed for DUI or traffic violations? You need Riz Injury Law on your side. Attorney Riz Ali fights for you, specializing in auto accidents, medical malpractice, slip and falls, traffic tickets, DUI and DWI. Call 312-546-5109 now. That's 312-546-5109. One more time, 312-546-5109. Your story matters, and Riz Injury Law will fight to make sure you get justice. Visit rizinjurylaw.com or stop by 35 East Wacker Drive, Suite 650, Chicago, Illinois, 60601. That's Riz Injury Law. Justice, compensation, results. Call 312-546-5109.
So that was Attorney Riz Ali, who's supporting the show, folks. And if you would like to get your message on the air with us, we are going to be playing these short messages, not from corporate advertisers. We don't want corporate advertising. But if you want to get your message on the air with us, please reach out to Ms. at tlsradio.com. That is MIZ at tlsradio.com. And let's see if we can support you and you can support us. Coming back to the conversation, Maria, you raised a very important point. The pharmaceutical lobby is so strong in our country. And by the way, I have not seen a single case, correct me if I'm wrong, where a medication has fixed an issue. Okay, it's all about managing this and managing that, managing your pain, managing your diabetes, managing your blood pressure, not about curing, because a cured patient is a net revenue loss to the pharmaceutical industry. They don't cure anything. The allopathic medicine in emergency cases, fine. That is very useful. But we made a conscious decision in this country to not let the branches of medicine, the Unani medicine, the Ayurvedic medicine, the holistic approach the doctors need to have. When you go to a doctor, I've written a Substack on this, Marie, if you remember, do you need a refill is the question that my primary care physician is asking me. Not what have you been doing? Have you been sleeping well? What have you been, your diet?
There are no questions.
Nothing realistic about it. It's all about pushing medication. And then I think we are probably one of the few countries in the world that allow pharmaceutical companies to advertise on the radio and television. Ask your doctor about this, okay?
Yeah, right.
Why? Show me one case where these allopathic medicines have cured a disease.
So interesting that you bring that up. So I used to be in advertising, and I was in advertising during the time you could not. So lawyers couldn't advertise, and then pharmaceutical companies couldn't advertise, right? And for a good reason, because everybody becomes a lawyer there, and everybody becomes an MD, and there are very few people on this earth that are qualified to prescribe, right? So where we're at right now is that we have the push me, pull me system. It's a compression, right? Is that we have patients wanting drugs because they think it will cure you.
Oh, yeah.
And then we have pharmaceutical industry folks pressing on MDs to prescribe more and to prescribe at higher doses, which is why many of these cases in mental illness is problematic because in fact, I'm writing a novel about it right now.
Okay.
So it is that they keep amping up the dosage without testing it properly.
Yep.
So there was a bill that went through about 15 years ago called the Fast Track Bill that compresses the amount of time in which a drug is tested. And now the FDA can approve these things in a matter of a couple to 5 years, right? And so they don't get tested and frequently don't get tested on women, all ethnicities, and all ancestries. And so here we are today. We have problems that we don't even know how they affect people based
Maria,
on.
I had a salesperson in my company quite a few years back, and then she left and she joined an insurance company. And she called me up one day and said, "Hey, I want to set up an appointment to come and visit with you, with my boss." And she comes with her boss. This guy has got gold chains around his neck and rings on his fingers and everything. And they come and they sit and talk to me about skin cancer, how it is prevalent and how it is so bad, blah, 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 blah. And I asked him one question. I said, "Hey, have you got any studies on the effect of radiation and sun and all these things that you're talking about on brown people, my color?"
Yeah.
That shut him up real quick and they left. Okay. So you talking about testing things on different ethnicities, different genders, different ages. MD, I just came up with this, okay? It's masters of deflection. They are not medical doctors. I'm sorry. And the Federal Drug Administration, FDA, is your federal deflection administration now. Because every time they approve a drug, these pharmaceutical companies make millions of dollars. And then 5 years later, they say, "Oh no, we are pulling this drug. And we are fining, XYZ company $5 million. Meanwhile, the company has made, $10 billion. And the circle continues. And then these FDA administrators go back and become lobbyists for the pharmaceutical industry. Oh God.
Let's be clear that there are lots of amazing doctors out there, right? And that do the right thing.
I got 8 in my immediate family, okay?
Yeah, right. So I hear what you're saying. So it's just like any situation. There's a small batch of folks that are receiving kickbacks from the pharmaceutical industry, and it's both in politics and and by providers. But most of them do well. I wouldn't say that about Congress, but in terms of MDs, some of them take kickbacks. A small bad apple group.
Oh, I think it's much larger than a small bit. I think it's at least 50% are taking money.
Well, we don't have any evidence of that, Crystal. Let's not say that.
Well, we got 1 minute to finish
I
up
said
the show
that's what
today.
I think based on my personal experiences with doctors.
Yeah, we got
and
1 minute to finish up the show today, Chris. So we'll continue the conversation, folks. You've been tuned into the Lightning Strike. We come every Sunday morning. Please go to our website, tlsradio.com. You can become a subscriber and support us for as little as $10 or $25 a month to keep these conversations going. It is so important for us to have this. And I want to thank Alexandria Sofiakis for joining us today, John Stanton for joining us, and of course, Marie and Maria and Chris and Mike Patino and Ms. Hernandez for joining the conversation today. Please do chime in if you want to join the conversation, or send us an email if you want to have us discuss any particular. I had a long email from a listener in Toronto, Canada, who's been listening to us on our YouTube channel, wanting to talk about housing crisis in Chicago, of all places, from Canada. Okay. So it's your show. Do feel free to join us. It's 10 o'clock. We'll be signing off for the day today. And again, thank you for listening. Do visit our website, tlsradio.com. Find us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Find us on SoundCloud. Find us also on our YouTube and Facebook channels. Over and out. I'll see you all next week.
Let's stop those data centers.
Okay. Mike had to get the last word in.